If you saw my Mega Man X review, you'll know that I fucking loved this game right here. This game is, to me, the absolute pinnacle of 2D 16-bit side-scrolling action games. In fact, it's when people ask me what my favorite game of all time is, or my favorite Super Nintendo game, Mega Man X is one that usually comes to mind. It's a toss-up between that and Final Fantasy III and Donkey Kong Country 2. All three of those are fantastic games. But you know what? I've never really played Mega Man X2 that much. I've played it, but I've never played it, like actually gone through and tried to get almost everything and really try to absorb that game in. For all I knew prior to this review, it could have been a horrible game. And I would like to tell you, it's a horrible game because now I've got 4 games to think of when somebody asks me which is my favorite. Now, this game didn't really review well back when it came out. I mean, it reviewed okay. But I think by this point in time, people in the West were just really getting tired of Mega Man. I remember seeing reviews for Mega Man 7 in an issue of EGM, and people were complaining that it was yet another Mega Man game. Which, when we eventually get to Mega Man 7, we will find out that being yet another Mega Man title is the least of its problems. This is a complaint that I never really understood. People say that certain franchises, for example Mario or Call of Duty or Pokemon, rehash the same shit every single year. Well, yeah, that's kind of what the fans want. People don't want Mario Odyssey 2 to be a 3D anime arena fighter. They want it to be Mario Odyssey 2. Fans of Call of Duty don't want it to be a whimsical JRPG. So Call of Duty Paper Warfare is not a game we will be seeing anytime soon. So what I got from critics and reviewers was that they were pissed at Capcom for giving Mega Man fans more Mega Man games. Which is exactly what Mega Man X2 is. It is more Mega Man X. So I can't really be mad. It literally says Mega Man X on the box art. I doubt I'm going to sit there and go, wait a second. This is a Gex? The story this time around is set 6 months following the first game, and X and the rest of the Maverick Hunters are just about to wipe out the last of Sigma's forces. But surprise, there are 3 new Mavericks dubbed the X-Hunters, who show up and take over the North Pole. Which means, we've got to stop those Maverick bastards from ruining Christmas! After the intro stage, you get to select it. You know what? Fuck it. This is 5 videos into the series. You know what's up by this point. I don't even have to mention that there's 8 Mavericks, each with a weapon that another is weak to. Except that I just did, so ignore that. The major addition here is the X-Hunters themselves. They constantly move around the map, meaning that you might have to do a level out of order just to have the chance to fight one of them. The thing is that they're hard. So your best bet is to do one of 2 things. Take on the Mavericks and hope that you get the right weapon needed to best the Hunters, or hunt down the upgrade capsules Dr. Light just seems to have scattered everywhere, even in places he could not have possibly left them, like this tank. The levels this time around are even bigger than in the first game, with items being far harder to find. Hell, some things like heart containers or sub-tanks will require the player to Minecraft themselves just to get them. The levels this time around feel more Metroidian in nature. In Mega Man X1, you only had one move to unlock, the dash. But here, you score an air dash, which a lot of the more dastardly secrets will require you to master in order to fully complete the game. You also get a helmet that helps you find things, a more powerful gun, and an upgrade I like to call the Elliot Rodger, due to its ability to unleash all the pain you've recently suffered onto the world. Back to my previous point, the Hunters are harder than the typical bosses, and if you beat too many Mavericks, the Hunters will simply just fuck off, meaning that you can't get what you need from them, so sometimes the best thing to do is just to go and fight them, not knowing if you have what you'll need, or actually plan shit out if you've planned shit out, which I clearly haven't. Beating a Hunter nets you 1 piece of Zero. So yes, beating a Hunter will net you one of Zero's parts, which, if all of them are collected, a robot anime Bishonen pops out and makes your wildest yaoi dreams come true.
No, instead you actually just get to avoid an incredibly frustrating yet albeit really cool boss fight right before you fight Sigma. Yeah, Sigma's the final boss again. Don't expect anything different from this series ever, unless it's a turn-based RPG. The worst thing about Mega Man games is that they always tried to make you think that the villain wasn't the villain. They did this in Mega Man 6 as well, with the totally not Wily, no really guys, Mr. X, who, big shock, was just Wily in a disguise. I'm shocked Mega Man 7 didn't have him come out with Groucho Marx glasses. With the X series, I felt like it was a good time for a clean slate and to avoid all the trappings of your average Mega Man game. But honestly, they never do that. Every game ends with a Sigma fight from here on out, only this time he kinda fights like Wolverine. It's a hard fight, but I wish that the games took a few more chances with the final boss. Like, I don't know, have the X-Hunters all form into some giant Megazord whatchamafucket, and have that be the end boss. Instead, they pretty much serve the same purpose as Cooler's Special Squad.
Pretty one, stupid one with weird powers.
Now, I do have one slight issue. The game actually has two different outcomes depending on whether or not the player obtained all of Zero's parts. If you fail to get them, then you fight Zero, which is cool. But if you manage to get them, then Sigma comes in with a copy of Zero, which the real Zero comes in and beats for you. I think this was a cool idea in concept. Having two potential outcomes does add replayability to the game, but at the same time, the differences are just a slight bit more dialogue and a far easier encounter with Sigma. On one hand, it gives you more of a reason to play through it more than once. On the other hand, this sure is a far cry from the likes of Chrono Trigger. As annoying as the fight with Zero is, due to him only being harmed by charge shots, it is really fucking epic, and has possibly the best music in the game. I don't know what it is about Zero boss fights in Mega Man X games, but once we get to X5, you'll see that they are typically the highlight of whatever game they're in. So, getting that supposed good ending isn't really worth it, because you get a much better conclusion if you go for the bad ending. Besides, getting all the parts makes Sigma's dialogue a bit longer than it needs to be, and he kind of kills some of the mystery that this game's plot is trying to set up. After you show Sigma's first form that you're the best there is at what you do, you fight his second, which is a giant wireframe model of his head. And I won't lie, this is actually really cool. I mean, yeah, it's 1994 as fuck, but wireframe stuff was hard to do on 16-bit consoles. This is actually a really cool effect, and I think it made for an appealing end boss. After the fight, Zero and X stare blankly over the horizon, wondering when Zero will finally get his own series of games so that he can actually be useful for once. But something Sigma said when he died is kind of niggling at the back of my head. You know, the way that niggly things niggle. He called Zero the last of the Doctor's creations.
Now just sort of tuck that away into the back of your head for a little bit. We'll get back to that whole Doctor's last creation thing right around the time we get to Mega Man X4. And yeah, maybe it is a case of second verse same as the first, but the first verse was so damn good and short that you don't really mind the second verse being pretty much the exact same thing. One major change, though, is that I only had one bit of slowdown in the entire game. That was actually really impressive. I think it's due to the enhancement chip, but kudos Capcom for figuring out Super Nintendo development. So, yeah, if you want more Mega Man X, Mega Man X2 scratches that itch in spades. Being a safe sequel isn't always a bad thing. You always see people rag on Nintendo or Activision or Capcom for making really safe sequels, games that aren't terribly different from what they were before. But, you know, when you try to deviate too much, you get stuff like Metroid Other M, or even worse, Mega Man X3.